I do is I expect you to get the review from the email and download it and transfer it over to notebook paper so you can work out the problems and get the right answer. And then you'll box every right answer that you get. And then that way, when um, I send out the answers, you can double check your answers as well. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna show you how you would do the review. Because this today's lecture will be the review for test two. Are there any questions about my class before I begin the lecture? All right, if there are no more, if there are no questions, no comments, you can either send me the questions directly on the chat, so that way no one has to know, or you can send it to the class and I will get to it when I'm able to. But all right, guys, everyone get your paper and pencil ready or your journal ready. Let's begin lecture 7. So lecture 7 is gonna be a test tube review class. Okay, Carly. Would if I give you more time, Carly, would you be able to get it done this week? Excellent. And then this goes to everyone, guys. If life happens and stops you from being able to do your requirements for school, for my class, email me. Email me or text me. If I'm available, I will text you back within 48 hours. That's my best. This weekend was kind of rough just because I was under the weather and I didn't really get better until Sunday. Like I actually still don't feel too good right now, but I don't want to do videos back to back. Um, what was I gonna say? So yeah, so that's what. So yeah, I don't mind giving out extensions. Just it's better to email or let your professors know before the assignments are turned in, because afterwards, at that point, it's hard. It's harder to help. So just to keep you on mind, since this is like a freshman level course, uh, I will be flexible, but I urge you and encourage you to communicate with me before the due dates. Learn how to say, "Hey, I'm going through some things. I need more time. Can you please assist me?" Just ask. Definitely before the due date, because I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, in the handbook, you guys have every student has a right to pass or fail a class. So at the end, the last day to drop a class is this Wednesday, guys. So what does that mean, right? So let's say you're doing amazing, you have a C in this class, you have a couple missing assignments, and you haven't talked to me. Well, you have a C still, right? So as long as you maintain your workload from today till the end of the semester, you'll still pass with at least a C, right? Let's say worst case scenario, let's say you haven't done any of the work. Let's say you have a 0 on the test and on the homework, and you don't know if you can get it done and by the end of the semester. Wednesday is the last day you can drop with having a W or a drop on your transcript. After Wednesday, you will have to push through the course and hope for the best and try to get the best out of everything else that we have to do in terms of assignments and grades. Does that make sense, class? Okay. Another thing that I am gonna actually be open to trying, and I'm gonna try to mess with the settings, but would you guys be interested in having 2 attempts to each test? Where you do the test once and then let's say you got a 75 and you want to attempt a second time for a better grade, or I would accept the highest grade from the 2 attempts.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay. Now, I will only do this for the midterm exams, which is from test 1 to test 5. The final exam will only be one attempt since every college math class after me, you'll only have one attempt for every test that you get after my class. So test 1, I'm gonna open it back up for you guys. I'm gonna mess with the settings to give you a second attempt, and I'm gonna give you the due date until this Sunday, the 14th, as well as test 2. Does that understood, guys? So you will have the option to redo test 1, but test 2 will also be due by the same date. And the reason I'm not giving you any more time than this Sunday is because midterm grades are due Monday. And I don't want to do the midterm grades and then it's going to be messy after that. So I'm going to try to mess with the settings on my math lab after class today. And I'll send a proper email to all my students saying, hey, I mess with settings. Test 1 should be open. Test 2 should be open. You should have 2 attempts on each test now. And if y'all can email me back saying that it worked, yes, sir, I'm able to take it again a second time. Thank you. But the same rules apply. 2 hours limit, and that's it. Like as soon as you start the test, it's a 2-hour limit. All right. Um, yes, Nicholas, that sounds great. I will definitely talk to you after class. All right. Is there any other questions, comments, or concerns? And just remind me, Nicholas, that I kind of get into the math lessons and I may forget. So nothing personal, just remind me. All right. Before we begin, any other questions regarding my class or work? All right. I'm gonna close the chat on my end. If y'all text something, I'll look at it later. Right now, no one's messaging anything. All right, class, let's go ahead and get started. So test to review, guys, it's gonna have 25 questions covering these 5 sections. So it is very important that you have the lessons from these sections in your notebook with all the examples worked out and pretty much the problems worked out. And after you have all your notes down, do the homeworks for each of these on your other notebook. And that way you have the notes, the work from the online homework, and this review to help you do test 2. Now, do y'all see the abundance of resources you have to do your test now? You have the notes, you have the homework assignments, examples from you working them out, and you have this review that I'm doing. And you have the tutoring center and the brain fuse tutoring online. So I urge you to make sure you utilize all these resources to its maximum capability to give you the best chance of getting the highest score possible. So I urge you to use these resources, guys. And I get it, right? Some of you guys work full-time jobs. Some of you guys are parents or legal guardians of children, and it's hard, right? It's a hard balance, but this is kind of the life of academia. When you're studying something to learn something, you have to make compromises and sacrifices. Okay, so it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies, ladies and gentlemen. I've been there. So I've worked multiple jobs and went to school, and I've struggled. So and you have to do the same and push through the struggle, because at the end of it, when you pass this class, when you pass your degree plan and you get what you want to go to, it is going to get better, guys. So let's get started. um Number 1, add and simplify. I'm gonna go ahead and about give you a minute to write these down, and if y'all need more time than a minute to write it down, I'll give you more time. That way we can get through through this review. As you guys are writing this example or this first problem for the review, uh, add and simplify. What is the rule for adding fractions, guys? Does anyone remember how we can add fractions? What needs to what needs to be happening with the fractions in order for us to be able to add them comfortably? Does anyone remember?
Common denominator.
Common denominator. And if you don't know what the denominator is of this, it's pretty much the bottom part of a fraction. If it's the same one, guys, you can equal it, put it under one fraction, and then use the operation here. It's 3 plus 1. So then you just write the common denominator in the bottom, and then you write 3 plus 1 into one fraction. Since it's the same denominator, we can add the numerators or subtract them, whatever the operation is, right? So 3 plus 1 is just 4 over 16. Well, guess what? We can simplify. What number goes into 4 and 16, guys? Can anyone share with me? What can we divide into 4 and 16?
By 4?
By 4. How many 4s go into 4? 1. How many 4s go into 16? 4. And we are done, guys. 1/4. What questions do we have for problem number 1? Anyone need time to write this down before I move on to number 2, guys? Speak now, forever hold your truth. All right, moving on to number 2. I'll give you a minute to write this down. Oh, that looks ugly. Whew. There you go. Can you guys see this problem on your board just fine on your computer? Let me know if it's too small or something, okay?
Yes.
Perform the indicated operations. Now, this would be a kind of a overwhelming or very intimidating problem just because it's nothing but fractions, right? But remember the rule we said last time, we can combine or add or subtract fractions if they have the same denominator in class. Does this have the same denominator? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, it does. So what that means, we can combine it to one fraction and then put all the operations and numerators on top. So what would you write on top first, guys? What's the first thing you would write?
2x
Good. And then what operation?
plus
3x.
Good. And then keep going, right? Minus 3x plus 2x. Excellent. And now, oh, look, this is all adding and subtracting. Now, remember PEMDAS. What do we do first? Do I subtract the 3x's or do I add or subtract from left to right? What do you remember about PEMDAS?
you would add and then subtract.
Let's do that. So 2x plus 3x is 5x. 5x take away, so this is 5x. Then we subtract 3x, which is 2x, plus 2x, which is 4x over 5. And we're done. What questions do we have on problem number 2, guys, if any? Now, it is very important that we keep going. You do 5x, then we do 5x minus 3x, right? Because I want to make sure you don't, because I showed this to my family, saw me making this review, and they were like, hey, isn't this 0x? Why do you think they said my family said 0x for or 0 for the top? What did they do wrong? So we know that the answer is 4x, right? Over 5. But why did my family get 0x? What did they do wrong? So what they did is they added these two, and they did 5x minus 5x, which is 0x. But that's not correct, right? Because in PEMDAS, we're supposed to add and subtract from left to right. Everyone understand that, guys? Do not be like my sisters. I was like, I'm glad you're not in my class. Nah, just kidding. Oh, no, I'm not kidding. All right. Anyone need more time to copy this down before I move on? Let me know, all right? Problem 3. I'll give you a minute to write this down. Find the LCD for the following fractions. Find the LCD for the following fractions. Remember, to find LCD, there's two methods. You can write out the multiples of each one until you find a common one, right? So you write 4 down and you do 4, 8, 12, you keep going, 6 down, you keep going, 15, you keep going until you get the one that has the matches for all three, right? Um, but that's not, I don't really want you to focus on that, on method 1, on that method, just because that does take time and a lot of paper. I'm gonna do the prime factorization one just because you guys are moving up to other math classes after me if it's in your degree plan. So I want to show you the more advanced way to keep that fresher in your brain. So we're gonna go ahead and make the prime tree for each number, right? So we're gonna start with 4. 4 can be broken down to what number times what number? And it's a prime number. They're primes.
2 times 2.
That is correct. So then 4 is gonna equal to 2 times 2. 6. What's 6 gonna be?
3 times 2.
3 times 2. So then I'm gonna do 6 is 2 times 3, right? And then we have 15. What's 15?
3 times 5.
3 times 5. Is everyone with me on how we found these factors and stopped? All right. Now we're gonna circle the times we see the most. So I see 2 2s here, 1 2 here. Which one am I gonna circle? The 2 2 or the 1 2?
2 2.
Good. Now I see 1 3 and 1 3. How many times do I circle a 3? It's a 3 here and a 3 there. How many times can I circle a 3?
1.
Just once. And then what's the last prime number you see that I should circle? Because it's a different one than 2 and 3.
5.
The 5. So now we have all this component. So now we can say the LCD is going to be equal to 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Now let's multiply together. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. And we are done. So you would have to get to 60 for all three of these numbers by hand, and then notice that 60 is the first number. Right now, I can tell you it would take you 15 multiples of 4, 10 multiples of 6, and then 4 multiples of 15. But yeah, the answer is 16. Good job, class. What questions do we have on finding the LCD using this method, guys? Any questions? All right, let's go ahead and keep moving on. Here is problem 4. Find the LCD. I'll give you 1 minute to copy this problem down before I jump in. All right. Now, the cool thing about these numbers, right, the denominators is we're going to break down the 2, the 22, and the 55, right? Well, the 2 is already broken down, so we don't really have to mess with the 2. So we can just write 2 is just 2, because we don't really care for the 1, right? Because 2 times 1 is just 2. So we don't have to do a factor tree for 2. Let's go ahead and do one for 22. What two numbers can I multiply that give me 22?
Would it be 11 times 2?
Yes, it would be 11 times 2. And then 11, can I break down 11 anymore, or is it a prime number already? It's a prime number. So 22 is 2 times 11 as well. And they're both prime numbers, okay? Now, if you're not too, excuse me, if you're not too sure what is a prime number, you can look it up on Google and be like, hey, is 22 a prime? It'll say yes or no. But you do want to be able to tell me if it's a prime number on your own. That's the goal you want to get to. But for time purposes, you can just look it up as well. All right. What numbers multiply give me 55, guys?
Can it be 11 times 5 again?
Yes, it can be. So now we have 55 is 5 times 11. And they're both prime numbers, so we're done here. So now we just gotta circle the most times we see a prime number. So the three different prime numbers we see are the 2s, the 5s, and the 11s. So I see that we have 1, 2 in each one, right? So it doesn't matter which 2 we circle, as long as it's one of the 2s. I notice we have 2 11s. So as long as we circle one of the 11s, we're good to go. And we only have 1 5. So we're going to circle the 5. So to get the LCD, can someone tell me what numbers we're going to multiply to get the LCD?
2 times 11 times 5.
That is correct. 2 times 11 is 22. 22 times 5 is, I believe, 110. Can someone double check that on their calculator? Because my mental
Yes,
math.
that's good.
That's correct. Excellent. Cool. Does anyone have any questions on how to do this problem or what I did to find the answer? Is this method becoming a little more doable for you guys, seeing it multiple times? Like, do you think you'd be able to do the same thing that we're doing in this review on your own kind of thing? Hopefully, guys, right? That is my goal. My goal is from you watching me do these examples that you're like, oh, you gain the confidence yourself. Like, I feel like I can do this too. And that's part of learning. That's part of growth, right? So let's go on to number 5. Find an equivalent fraction with the given denominator. What does that mean, right? How do we find the numerator?
I copy the question.
Yes, there's a minute timer on for you to copy the question before I start. All right. On this example, it says find an equivalent fraction with a given denominator. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to find a numerator for this right fraction that when we simplify it, it'll give us 10 over 13. Does anyone remember how to do a problem like this? It's a proportions problem. I don't know. Does anyone remember something called the butterfly method? So what you're gonna do is we're gonna multiply these two opposites and then these two opposites. So we're gonna get 13 times question mark. 13 times the question mark is equal to 10 times 78x. Everyone with me? With how we set up the butterfly method, right? We do the denominator of the left times the numerator from the right equals to the numerator times the denominator to the right. Everyone with me? All right. And then we do 13 times question mark is just 13 question mark equals 10 times 78x is actually 780x. Now I want to get question mark by itself, right? And remember, 13 and question mark are being multiplied right now, ladies and gentlemen. Can y'all tell me what operation I'm going to do to get the question mark by itself, guys?
Divide.
By? What are we dividing by?
13.
That is correct. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So this cancels out the 13s, and then we get the question mark is equal to, can someone do 780 divided by 13 for me?
It's 60.
It was what was it, 60? Like this, 60?
Yes.
And then what should be after this 60, guys? What's still there? What didn't get canceled out?
X.
The X. So now remember, you can let me show you how you can check your answer, right? So we got question mark x 60x, right? So then we're gonna do 60x over 78x. Well, let's simplify this, right? Let's simplify and see if we get the 10 over 13. First, what cancels out here? What can we eliminate right away? On the blue part. Can anything get canceled out yet? We're testing if 60x works to make an equivalent fraction. So we're going to simplify it to see if it gives us 10 over 13. So 60x over 78x. Can someone share with me what can simplify first? Can we eliminate anything from this fraction yet? 60x over 78x.
The x's?
Yeah, because we have one on top and bottom, right? So we can get rid of the x's. So then we're left with 60 over 78. Now, what numbers can divide into 60 and 78? We have to simplify this fraction. What numbers go into 60 and 78x? 6. The 6 go, okay, so how many 6's go into 60? So we're gonna divide 10, right? So we're gonna divide both sides by 6, right? So then we get 10 on top. How many 6's go into 78?
13.
13. And did we get the 10 over 13 that we wanted? Yes, we did. Good job, class. Are there any questions on this butterfly method and how we got this equivalent fraction, guys? Any questions at all?
When you took off the x, it's fine. You can just take off the x like that, just because
Yes.
they're common, or what?
Only because one's on top and the other one is in the bottom. Because 60x over 70x is the same thing as 60 over 78 times x over x. Now remember, when we divide the same thing over itself, that's just a 1. So that's just a 1. So those can get eliminated away. Just to simplify it and make it easier.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Problem 6. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to copy this down. All right, class, let's get started. So x plus 5 over 17 equals negative 5 over 17. Remember in this section, when we had fraction in our equation, the goal was to multiply a certain number or the LCD to get rid of the fractions. Well, the cool thing about this example here is the denominators are both the same, guys. So what number do you think we have to multiply to cancel out the fractions, guys? I already know, but the goal is for you to review. So what number am I going to multiply to this equation to get rid of these fractions?
17.
17. So draw an arrow to show that we're going to multiply that to all parts of the equation, the left and the right. 17 times x is just 17x. 17 times 5 over 17, the 17s are going to cancel and we're left with what number? Plus what?
6.
Plus 5 equals, and then 17 again, they cancel out and we're left with negative 5. And voila, now this is much nicer to solve as opposed to the other one up there. Now, can y'all tell me what you would do next to solve for x now?
Subtract the 5.
Good. What we do to one side, we do to the other. This becomes 0. Bring down the 17x. What's negative 5 minus 5, y'all?
Negative.
Good. And what is the final step to getting x alone?
Divide.
By?
17.
Excellent.
So what did you do in the beginning again? You did 17 times x and then 17 times 5? Or
This is, yep, 17 times 5 over 17. But when we multiply 17 times 5 over 17, this is just pretty much 17 over 1, right? Since this 17 is on top and this 17 is on the bottom, it's the same thing like if the x's, right? When there's an x on top and an x on the bottom, what can we do to those x's? Cancel them out, right? So since it's the same concept, 17, 17, we can also do that to the same thing. When we get rid of those 17s, what are we left with only?
the 5.
Which is plus 5. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good job. All right, any other questions before I move on? Okay, let's move on. Number 7. Okay. So there's fractions involved. Can anyone tell me what you would multiply this whole equation by to get rid of these fractions, guys? Any thoughts? 19. Now, how many arrows are we gonna draw? How many things do y'all see? How many terms do you see?
What was the question?
How many times am I gonna distribute this 19?
3? Oh no, no. 5.
5. So, can someone do 5 times 19 for me? Let me see. 5 times 19, 95. Okay, cool. 95x. 19 times negative 1 over 19. It's just going to be minus 1. Minus 4 times 95 is, or 19, 4 times 19 is 76. X equals 4 plus 5. All right, let's go ahead and draw a line down the equal sign. Now, before we can solve, we have to simplify by combining like terms. Simplify by combining like terms, COT. So what can I combine on the left side, guys? What like terms do you see on the left side?
95x and 7. Is that negative 76x?
That is correct, negative. So with this negative, now subtract those two. What do you get when you combine those two? What's 95 take away 76? Is that like 20? No, not 20. 19? 19x? Okay. Minus 1 equals. Can I combine anything on the right side, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, 4 and 5 are constants, which gives us the what?
9.
Good. Now solve for x, guys. You should this stuff, you should know. So what do I do to get x by itself, guys?
Plus 1.
Good. When we do to one side, we do to the other. And then we get 19x equals 10. After that, guys, we have to get, how do we get rid of the 19 class? Anyone?
Divide by 19.
Excellent. So then we get x is equal to 10 over 19, which we cannot simplify anymore. So we're done. What questions do you guys have on problem 7? Any questions before I move on? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Problem 8. So we have to think of the LCD of the fractions here. So can you guys find me the LCD of the two denominators?
10.
Correct. The LCD is a 10. So we're gonna multiply this by 10. Go ahead and distribute it to these three fractions. So 10 times 1/5. So it'll be 10 times 1/5 plus 10 times a equals 10 times -7/10. Well, let's do the 10 and the 1/5, right? Well, 10 times 1 is just 10, and then we have 1 times 5, right? Because 10/1 is a fraction. 10 times 1 is 10, 1 times 5 is 5, so then we get 10/5. Everyone see how we got that, right? But what's 10/5 simplified to, y'all? What's 10 divided by 5? 2. So then we get 2 plus 10a equals -7 because the 10s can cancel out. So now we have to use algebra to get a by itself. So can someone tell me how you would get a by itself? What do we have to move first before we touch the 10a? What can we move first?
Subtract 2.
Subtract 2. Excellent. Subtract 2. So then we get 10a is equal to, what's -7 minus 2?
-9.
Correct. And then to get a by itself, what do we do?
Divide by 10.
Correct. So then we get a equals -9, 10, and we're done. Any questions on what we did for this problem, guys? Any questions whatsoever? All right, let's move on. So I'm gonna give you a minute to work this one, to write this down and think about the LCD because we have 3 different denominators. You can use any method you need, but we want to find out what can we multiply? What is the LCD? What is the LCD for these 3 fractions? 6, 7, and 42. I know the LCD already. Do y'all know it?
42.
That is correct. But I'm gonna wait for the timer before I move on. All right. Does anyone have any questions how we got the 42, guys? Any questions? Is everyone okay with the LCD being 42? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So we're gonna go ahead and multiply the whole equation by 42. So then we get 42 times 1/6 minus 42 times 9/7 equals 42 times x/42. Well, we know 42 is just what 2 numbers multiply? 6 times what? You know, it's 6 times 7. So what happens to my sixes on this first fraction? My sixes can cancel out and we're left with 7 times what? Left with 7 times 1, which is just 7. Remember, 42 is 6 times 7. What cancels out in the second fraction right here? This the sevens, and then we're left with -6 times 9. -6 times 9, which is just negative 54. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then what happens to my 42s over here on the right side?
They cancel.
They cancel out. And then 7 minus 54 is what? Yeah, $7 in your account.
42, I think.
42. Someone,
47.
what kind of 47?
Negative.
Correct. And we're done. Any questions on how we did problem 9? Any questions at all? Anyone need more time to copy this down before I move on? All right, problem number 10. Solve the equation x over 8 plus 5 equals 1 over 8. Give you the 1-minute timer to copy this down and think about what you're gonna multiply. What is the LCD gonna be to get rid of these fractions? All right, think about that. I'm gonna go ahead and you can type it in the chat, unmute and tell me. You have 1 minute to copy this down. All right, guys, what is the LCD for this problem? What can I multiply the whole equation by to get rid of my fractions? Anyone? Look at your denominators, guys. What can we multiply to get rid of these fractions?
8.
That is correct. If you said 8, you're on the right track. We're going to multiply the 8 to all the parts of the fraction. So the 8 over x over 8, that's going to cancel those 8s out. So we're left with x. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 over 8 is just 1, since the 8s are going to cancel. And now we just solve for x. What's the one step we have to do to get x by itself, class?
Subtract x.
Not, you don't want to subtract x, because remember, the objective is to get x alone.
Subtract 40.
Subtract 40. Yeah, which is negative 39. All right, and we're done. Are there any questions on how to solve this equation or what we did to solve it? Any questions? Okay, let's move on. And now the decimal parts come. So the cool thing about this other half of the review is going to touch on the sections that I wasn't able to give a live lesson, but there was a video lesson. So hopefully you guys did watch that to help you get the notes you needed for these sections. All right, solve the equation x plus 7.2 equals 10.1. I gave you 1 minute to copy this down before I move on. All right, class, with x plus 7.2 equals 10.1, how do we get x by itself, class? What's the step we need to do first on the way to getting x alone?
Minus 7.2.
Excellent, minus 7.2. And what is $10.10 minus $7.20? What's 10.1 minus 7.2? Use your calculator. Remember, you guys do not have to be calculators to help to do math.
$2.90.
Excellent. Good job. Any questions on this example, guys, or this question? All right, let's go ahead and move on. I'll give you a 1 minute timer to set this up. All right, class. If you're solving this equation, what's the first thing you would do to try to get x alone?
Move the 1.6
How would you move the 1.6?
by subtracting.
Excellent. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So then can someone tell me what 1.2 minus 1.6 would be?
Negative 0.4.
Good. And then we divide both sides by what? We want to get x alone, so we'll divide both sides by 0.2. This is a 1, so then we get x. Can someone tell me what negative 0.4 divided by 0.2 would be? Excuse me, sorry.
I got negative 2.
That's correct. What questions do we have on this example or problem, guys? Any questions on the steps we took? All right, let's move on. 1 minute to copy it down. All right, class. So I went ahead and timer's up. What would you do first if you're trying to solve for x for this example here? Any properties you notice that we should do first? Start with the letter D. Any takers?
Distribute.
Yes, we are. We can distribute. So we're going to distribute the 2 to the right side. 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times negative 3.4 is negative 6.8. Bring down the left side. Now we have to manipulate this equation to get x's on one side and numbers on the other side to get x alone. So how would you solve this equation, guys? How would you manipulate it to get the solution? Any takers on the first step you would do? There's more than one right first step, guys.
Minus 7.2.
Yeah, minus 7.2. And then we do it over here. If you already owe the bank $6.80 and you spent $7.20 more, what do you owe the bank now? So what's negative 6.8 minus 7.2? What do y'all get? I got negative 14. Can someone confirm, agree or disagree?
Agree.
Excellent. All right. So now what's next on getting x alone? Well, what's the next step, guys?
You could minus 8x from 6x.
That is correct. We're gonna move the 8x over. So now subtract it from the 6x like this. This becomes 0, right? So then we bring down the negative 14. And then what's 6x take away 6x take away minus 8x, or 6x minus 8x?
-2.
Negative 2x, that's correct. And now what's the final step we have to do to get x alone? How do we get rid of that negative 2?
Divide.
Divided, that is correct. So when divide by negative 2 on both sides, this becomes a 1. Two negatives make a positive 7, and we're done. Any questions on this one, guys? All right, let's move on. Give you 1 minute to copy this one down. All right, let's go ahead first. We're gonna go ahead and distribute the left side, right? So let's go ahead and distribute the 3. Can someone tell me what 3 times 2x would be?
6x.
6x. And then 3 times negative 1.5 is negative 4.5. Bring down the right side. Now, can you guys tell me how you would manipulate this equation? How would you solve this, guys?
You could take off the 6x by subtracting 6
Good. And where would you put it at?
under the 8.
Correct. Good job. So this becomes 0x. Bring down the negative 4.5. 8x minus 6x is 2x minus 4.5. Good job. Now, what would be the next step, guys?
Add 4.5 to both sides.
Yeah, add 4.5. What's negative 4.5 plus 4.5? That's 0. So you have 0 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. And we get x is equal to 0. And then we're done. Any questions with that, guys?
What does that mean when you put the line through the zero? Does that mean anything?
No,
I mean-
it's just to say this is a zero and not the letter O.
Oh,
That line, so whenever you see this is a zero. If you see this, it could be an O in the problem, like the letter O. So this is an O, the letter, and this is zero. It's just the way mathematicians, we write zero. Could you start doing that if you like to? Yes, it's up to you. Just because my handwriting is a little uglier, so I specify that because my zeros do look like O sometimes. But all right, let's move on. Give you 1 minute to copy this one down before I jump in. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. How would you solve for X for this one, guys? Talk to me through your process.
it'll be minus x on the right side and then minus on the left side.
So minus X, correct. This is zero. We'll bring down the negative 1.78, bring down the plus 12.1. Now you have 60 cents in your account, 0.6, and we spent $1. So what's 0.6 minus 1?
Is it 1.0 or is it just
1.0 is the same thing as just 1. But you could do 1.0 if you like, but it's the same thing as 1. So it'll be 0.6 minus 1. What do y'all get?
so it's not 0.1?
No, it's not 0.1. It's minus 1. 1.0. So 0.6, you have 60 cents in your bank, you spend $1, you're gonna owe the bank how much? 0.6 minus 1. Go ahead and practice, plug that into your calculator. 0.6 minus 1. 1.0. What did y'all get?
Negative 0.4.
That's correct. Now we just got to get X alone. So talk to me for the rest of the steps. What do we do next? We want to get this X alone. What do we have to move over and how?
Subtract
Subtract the what? What do we subtract?
12.1.
Say that one more time.
12.1.
Yeah, subtract the 12.1. Do it on both sides. So then we get negative 0.4x is equal. You owe the bank $1.78, but you spent another $12.10. So you owe them how much? I think it's negative 13.88. I may be wrong. Can someone agree or disagree with me that did it on the calculator? Negative 1.78 minus 12.10. Okay, good. Now, what's the final step, y'all? How do we get X alone? Anyone? Yeah, y'all are stuck on this last step. What do we do?
Divide.
Divide, yeah. So we can divide by negative 0.4 on both sides. So we know this becomes a 1x, right? Or just x. Two negatives become a positive. How many 0.40s are there in 13.88?
34.7.
34.7. And we're done. What questions do we have on this example, guys? All right, let's move on. 16. Go ahead and give you a minute to write this down. What is the sales tax on an iPhone priced at $425 if the sales tax rate is at 9%? I'll give you less than a minute to write this down, then I'll jump on it, okay? Now, these last 10 problems are going to be only challenging for you guys if you haven't done the lessons from last class. If you did not watch my videos, you're going to have a little struggle on these last few problems. All right. So to find the sales tax on an item, so the formula is very simple. It's going to be sales tax of an item is equal to the tax rate, the rate times the purchase price. So the rate is 9%, but I don't want 9% as a decimal. I mean, as a percent. Can anyone tell me how do I make a percent into a decimal? How many times do I move it to the left? It'll be
2.
2 times.
2 times. So it'll be 0.09 times $425. Multiply those together using your calculator. So 0.09 times 425, I got $38.25 for the taxes. Does anyone get something different? The sale tax is $38.25. Any questions on this one? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Anyone still writing this down before I move on?
Yes.
Let me know when you're good to go.
So can you explain it again? So it was the sales tax. We're trying to figure out that, right?
Yes.
So the rate is 0.9, and the purchase price. So you did multiply there.
Yeah, we multiplied it. Yes, ma'am. The dot is multiplication. That is correct. And then are you comfortable converting a percent to a decimal?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. And then that's it. You multiply them using your calculator, and that's how much taxes are going to be on the phone for 425 if the tax rate was 9%. Let me know when you're good to go for me to move on.
Okay, good to go.
All right, 17. The purchase price of a computer is $815. What is the total price if the sales tax rate is 8.5%? Well, we know, I'm gonna give you 1 minute to copy this down and then we'll get started on it. All right, guys. So the sales, it's asking for the total price, right? So you're shopping for a computer. You want to know how much is going to be with the sales tax, so that way you know what to save up for, right? So, to get the total price, it's the sales tax plus the purchase price. Well, last problem we were able to figure out the sales tax, right? So to find out the sales tax, is this going to be the rate times the purchase price? Well, can someone tell me how do we convert 8.5% as a decimal? So move this to the left twice. So what will be my decimal? 0. What? What should be next after that? It should be 0.85. Everyone follow that. And it's gonna be times the purchase price, which is 815. So can y'all multiply that and tell me what the sales tax would be on the computer?
It'd be $70.13.
I did not get that. Someone else, did anyone else get something different?
So we do the 0.085 times 815, right?
Yep.
I got 69.75. I don't know.
Well, remember, it's money, so we don't have 0.275. What would that add? What would that estimate to? 27 cents or 28 cents?
28.
There you go.
So 69.28.
Everyone okay with how I got the sales tax? So now we're gonna add that $69.28, and we're gonna add that to the purchase price of 815. When you add the 69.28 to the 815, how much do you pay at the store for your laptop? $884.28. Are there any questions on this example, guys? Does anyone know the sales tax rate of Texas?
Isn't it 8.25 or something?
It is 8.25. You're correct. So this lesson in the class is supposed to show you how to do your taxes for when you go shopping and stuff. And it's kind of interesting because it helps you budget a little cleaner. All right, any questions here before we move on? All right. A new bedroom set sells for $1,400. Find the sales tax and the total price if the sales tax is 6.5%. Give you 1 minute to set that up. How would you solve this one if this was you? What would you find first? All right. Do I have any takers on how you would start this? What do you think we would have to find first?
The tax.
Yeah, the taxes, right? The sales tax. So what are we gonna multiply to get the sales tax? How do we convert 6.5% as a decimal?
We move the decimal over 2 times.
Good. And then it's right there. So this empty hump is gonna be a 0, right? So point what? Point 0.065. And we're gonna multiply that by what?
By 1400.
Correct. So go ahead and multiply that. What's your taxes for this bedroom set?
$91.
$91. And then to get the total, what do I do to get the total? Anyone? We would just add the taxes to the purchase price, which is just $1,491. And we're done. Any questions on number 18, guys? Any questions at all? Does anyone need more time to copy this down before I move on? Notice how I'm not giving you the formula anymore. I only give it to you once, and then the rest I just reapply the formula. Any questions here, guys? All right. 19. A sales representative for a large furniture warehouse is paid a commission rate of 4%. Find her commission if she sold $4,271,159 worth of furniture last night. Oh wow, she sold that in one night. Let's see how much she makes. So first things first, we're gonna have to, I'm gonna wait for the timer to run out before I start. All right. So can someone tell me how we can convert 4% into a decimal? What is 4% as a decimal? So move it twice, right? So it'll be 0.04. So now we're gonna go ahead and multiply this. So to get the commission, it's gonna be the rate times the total amount sold. And the formulas are different from the notes, but it's the same concept. So the rate will be 0.04 times 4,271,159. So let's go ahead and multiply that in your calculator. I'm gonna do the same thing. And I got $170,846.36. Give me a second as I try to look for this job offering. But does everyone understand what we did here, guys? Multiply the rate times what this salesman, what this saleswoman sold in terms of what she got in return. Commission jobs are very risky, but obviously with every risk, there must be some reward. Are there any questions on how we do this example, guys?
I'm just still copying.
Let me know when you're good to go.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. All right. Find the amount of discount and the sell price. So this is about how to find the discount. So there's this item being sold for $34,000 and $34,600. And there's gonna be discounted at 5%. Want to know what's the amount of discount and what the sell price is gonna be with the discount. I'll give you 1 minute to copy this down before I jump in.
Did you drink coffee this morning?
Yes, can you tell? All right. So to get the amount of discount, guys, to get that, we have to. All right. So to find the amount of discount, let me write it over here. So the amount of discount is by multiplying the rate times the original price. So we know the rate is 5%. Can someone give me what 5%? 5% as a decimal, guys. Can someone help me out?
0.05?
Excellent. That is correct. 0.05. So, and the only reason I add this zero right here, this first zero, is to just kind of highlight that there's no dollar amount. It's just $0 and 0.05. You know what I mean? That's just a me thing, a Pacheco thing. I like to include the zero because I think it looks nicer than not to have that at all. You know, because when you have it like this, people get kind of. I've seen a lot of confusion like this, so I just like to include that. So that's just me though. Not that you have to copy me. All right, guys. So now we're going to plug in the original price. Plug in those two. How much would the discount be? How much? So multiply those two and how much is going to be taken off?
1,730.
That is correct. Now that we know what the amount of discount is, the first answer they wanted us to find, how do I get the sell price? If you were a shopper, guys, how would you get the sell price, knowing that you know how much it's going to be discounted? What would you do? What operation? You will add them? You'll add this to what the original price is to get the discount?
Yes.
Think about it. Discounted. So if something is discounted and you
Oh,
have
I
to
mean, subtract.
subtract, I was like that. I was like, you guys want some discounts on my products? I'm just kidding. I don't have products, but anyway. So yeah, we would subtract, right? If someone told you they're giving you a discount and they add more to the price, you best walk away, like you better walk away. And then minus the amount of discount. So I'm just giving you the formula. I know my handwriting is ugly. Sue me. Don't really sue me. Don't have money to hire a lawyer. All right. So original price minus amount of discount. So original price is 34,600. We're gonna take away the 1730 from the discount we got, right? Because we were being Karens. So what's the discount after the discount? What do we get? What do we have to pay for it? What did you get?
32,870.
Woo! And you're correct. And we're done. Any questions on how to find a discount of an item and how to get the sell price? Any questions on number 20? All right, let's move on. Finding the simple interest. I'll give you 1 minute to copy this down. And then we'll get started. All right. To find the simple interest, guys, it's very simple. It's going to be I equals P times R times T. T has to be in years, rate has to be in decimal, and the principal is just how much you're getting. So we got a $400 loan at 6%, which is 0.06 times 7 years. Multiply those three across, guys. What do we get?
168.
So then that's the interest on this $400 loans for 7 years. And we're done. Any questions on how we set this up? All right. Anyone need more time to write this before I move on? $22. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to set this up.
Hey, sir, don't forget to call attendance.
Yes, I will. I'm gonna do that after we're done with the review. But thank you for the reminder, though. I appreciate you. All right. So this is the same concept, right, as before, guys. So we know interest is P times R times T, right? So first, and when we convert 16% to a decimal, it'll be 0.16, right? But the time, we can't just plug in 9 for time. Can someone tell me why? Why can't we just plug in 9 for T?
Because it has to be in years, not months.
Exactly. And to convert this to years, we divide it over what?
12.
Excellent. So 9 over 12, that reduces to 3/4, which is actually 0.75 of a year, right? So you can do it any way you want. You can leave it as a fraction. You can leave it as a decimal, up to you. I'm doing decimal because my calculator on my phone doesn't have fractions. So I'm going to convert that into decimal. So it's going to be 400 times 0.16 times 0.75. Let's see how much interest that would be. What did you guys get? I got $48.
I got 48 too.
Excellent. All right, let's push through it, guys. We're almost done. People are getting off the Zoom before attendance, hopefully for good reason. All right. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. A student borrows $96,000 for 8 years at a simple interest rate of 12.5%. Find the interest paid and the total amount paid. So first we have to find the interest, which we know the formula, right? So we know I equals P times R times T. So I know that, we know the formula, right? Oh, my bad. I didn't give you the 1 minute to write. My apologies, guys. I'm gonna give it to you right now. But go ahead and try to plug in the formula with what you see up there. See if you can do that on your own, okay? And then once the minute comes up, I'll start working it out and see what you got, where you guys are at. All right. Can y'all tell me how you would plug this in, guys? Well, what's gonna be plugged in for P? Anyone?
The 96,000.
Excellent. What's gonna be plugged in for the rate? Anyone? What did you get for the rate?
Is it 125? 0.125?
It is 0.125, correct?
And you wouldn't round that up or anything?
You do not round. You only round towards the end with the pennies or the cents.
Okay.
And then Chris, you said 12.5, Chris. Make sure you convert the the percent to a decimal, sir. Okay. So it's gonna be 0.125. They're the same thing. 12.5% is the same thing as 0.125, but make sure you get it into a decimal, okay? And then for the years, for T, what do we plug in?
Eight.
8, that's correct. So now multiply that across. What do you guys get? How much interest do you pay for if you're a student and you borrowed this much for school?
$96,000. 96,000.
96,000. That's how much interest this student gets for 8 years of borrowing a loan. That's an insane amount of interest, right? Well, now we found the interest paid, but we also had to find out the total amount. How do we get the total amount? What do we do with the interest and the principal? We have to add the interest with plus the principal. So it's gonna be 96,000 plus 96,000. So how much did this student pay for their student loans? $192,000. Did anyone get something different? Any questions on this one, guys, on any component at all?
So the 192,000 was what again? The total?
Is the total amount paid? Yes. And did you have any questions before I move on? Or are you okay with that?
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Number 24, give you a minute to set this up into your notebook. Remember, Annie borrows 7,400 and agrees to pay it back in 8 years. If the simple interest rate is 4%, find the total amount she pays back. So it's asking for only the total, but how would you guys get the information you need to get the total? So to get the total, we need to know the principal amount of how much she borrows and the interest she paid for it. So what do we have to find first to be able to get the total, class? Any thoughts while you guys are writing this down?
Would you do 74,000 times 0.04?
And that's it, or what are you doing? Talk to me about your process. Like, what are you trying to find first to get the total? What do we need to find first?
The sales tax or the tax?
Not the sales tax. It's different now. It's not as she's
Mhm.
borrowing something. So what do we call when you borrow something from a bank? What do you have to pay on it?
Interest.
The interest. There you go. So then you were right. 7,400 times 0.04, but you're missing something too. Something else needs to be multiplied as well. What else? Remember the formula. Interest is equal to P times R times what?
Times 8 years.
There we go. So go ahead and get the interest, guys, and multiply those 3 components. What did you get for interest, guys? I got 2368. Can someone agree or disagree that I got something different or the same? I shouldn't box it. I shouldn't box it because it's not asking for the interest. What does she want? What are they asking for? Well, before I get the total, can someone agree or disagree if we got the same interest, amount of interest? Okay, good. So now how do we find the total, class? Now that we know how much interest Annie's gonna pay for that loan, how do we find the total, class?
We add the interest to the loan.
Yeah, add the interest to the total amount of the loan. So it's gonna be 2368 plus the 7400. Cause that's how much she borrowed. So in total, how much is she gonna pay off for the loan?
1,768.
That is correct. Good job. All right. Any questions on this example before we move on to the last one?
I'm still copying.
Let me know when you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Thank you. All right. Find the simple interest, guys. So it's the same thing. We have the rate, time, and principal. So it's just I equals P times R times T. So I'll let you do that. Okay, so to get this one, guys, you should be multiplying 550. Can someone give me the rate as a decimal, please? That's the main thing I'm concerned about with you guys. How would you get this to decimal?
0.095.
0.095, correct. Times the 4. And then what did y'all get?
209.
Agree.
209. Okay, good. And we have people agree. So we're good to go, guys. And you're done with the review. How was it, guys? Any concerns about this next again about test 2, guys, with doing the review together? Do you see kind of now And I'll be honest with you guys, this review is similar like the test. So if you understood how to do each of these problems, how to set it up, how to simplify, how to solve, you should be fine on test 2. Are there any questions before I stop recording about any math questions? About anything so far? Okay. Since there's no math questions, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm gonna stop recording. Okay. Meeting, stop recording.